Hey everybody, this is the No Idea Zone. I'm Stephen Lolli, and you're stuck at fucking home or in a car. And you have a treat today because I have a gentleman with me who was a reason for me to get out of bed and actually consume caffeine this morning. Put on clothes and get in the shower. That's right. And men don't do that. Usually men don't motivate me to do that, but this gentleman is very special, very talented, and truly a godfather of the art form, a Jedi in my art form. This is my second interview with him. I interviewed him on Pep Talks a while back, and we're going to get to go back over some stuff that we covered some ground earlier, and we can catch back up. This gentleman has been in literally hundreds of television shows and movies, including stuff you might have heard of like Groundhog Day and Beverly Hills Cop. He was best friends with Robin Williams and a writer for Robin. And one of the most significant things is, my friend, this guy is an activist and one of the guys with the most energy on the front lines of our political spectrum right now. And I would like to give it up for my buddy. Please welcome Rick Overton. Hey, Rick, thanks for coming with us here.
Hey, Steve. How are you, brother?
Good, man. Sideways.
Thanks for having me on your interview. Yeah, geez, man, I'm sorry about this. It looks like, I had it all figured. But as you can see, the reception's not very good here on my tropical island. And you can see by the waving palm trees and the blue skies and the rolling waves behind me.
It looks like you got caught in the no idea zone, Rick.
Are you telling me it's not that cheap piece of crap? No wonder the app is free. I'm sure they're harvesting my data right now.
I thought you were doing the greens thing as a decoration thing. I just thought you might be into green, you know, Kermit the Frog or
it says you can put any background you want. You're supposed to be, you can put NASA rockets taking off behind you, or you got waving trees, or the sprawling nighttime city behind you like a talk show, you know?
Right, or like me, you have a bottle of Jergens and a Chicago Bear cap.
So it has a million purposes. It's the Swiss Army knife of colors.
It really is.
Yeah.
Envy.
Money. But it also means growing plants and trees. You know, everything has a good... I like the way you're tilting your head. You're trying to adjust into the sequence. Here, I'll tilt with you. We'll meet you halfway.
That's actually just my natural state of... That's from being punched in the head by life one too many times.
I'm with you. And it's also the color of the planet that Greta Thunberg's generation deserves to live on.
Amen, brother. Amen.
It shouldn't be the color of the sky. It should be the color of the land under this blue sky. Yeah,
indeed. The sky should be blue and the land should be green. Well, that'll just lead me into what I wanted, you know. Obviously, we'll get right to the heart of things here. You know, the last time we spoke, we were talking about Bernie and how this sort of was, in my words, grab the center and pull it to the left, because this was the last chance we really have to have a leader, you know, who's visible and all this. I sort of, to be fair, one of the reasons I admire you is because you never check out. You know, you are always there and active. I sort of have checked out a bit because I've just...
It's human. It gets to be too much. You know, when I do a movie or something like that, I got to check out for a little bit, because when they go, it's a wrap, I'm back.
Right, when they go into wrap. So right now, I've checked out a little bit, and I interviewed Sam Tripoli a few days ago, which I want to talk to you about. But also, you are my second sort of socially relevant guest. The other guests, I've just kept it light, you know, because I think people need that right now. I need it, actually. So, but now that I've got you here, I want to ask you about sort of what direction you see us going socially, and first part of the question. The second part of the question is, what do you see this pandemic as, positive, negative? Can you share some wisdom with us?
It's hard to see all the upside of a pandemic up front, and we're still up front. we haven't really been hit by it yet. We keep thinking this is the hit. And this is the precursor to the hit. And it's a multi-layered thing. And when people are in panic, they hate complex things. They love simplicity. Oh, this is not a time for a complex thing. We just need to run and scream and grab the closest objects. Don't tell me we have to do more complicated things, because I can't handle it. And I understand it when a person feels that way. But understanding it doesn't mean it's okay. And saying that you can recognize what made that happen doesn't mean you acquiesce to it. Because on top of a real thing occurring, real deaths happening, there is massive opportunism that will make price gouging look like Christ kicking the merchants out of the temple. Only it will be called new social structure. And it'll be the removal of other things you were adjusted to before, and you're supposed to be grateful for whatever's left. It's like the dog that at one time might have been this free, feral animal, and it had to take its chances and risks every day, but it was completely free. No guarantee of food, shelter, or water, or safety, but it was free. Then someone took it in and retrained it, and retrained it, and retrained it until the point where now the dog is only happy to see a leash come out and has no concept of itself going out on its own anymore.
So do you, because I have had some, I'm a deep believer in God, a knower of God. I've had some weird experiences in my life that have shown me there's something that created me and loves us, but I don't understand it. I don't claim to understand it. Okay. What would you say to the comment I'd make saying there are biblical implications to this?
I'd say in this instance that this is, I mean, everything in the Bible is a thing that later can be measured by physics. And why didn't God make physics? All right. So God stays included in the equation.
Sure.
But it breaks down to recognition of things. Physics is, I see a thing happening. What made it happen? Can I make it happen? Why can't I make it happen? How many times do I try before I can? What did I find out in between? There's ones and zeros, yeses and nos. And so it's the stacking of yeses and nos. It's like a coral reef. It takes forever. And eventually you figure something out, maybe. And so I think the people in charge have zero capacity for imagination. They have zero intuition, and they can't guess anything, because every time they do, look what happens every time they guess something. Look how that goes. So they try to make predictor machines. They try to come up with ways to do this. And one of the things is read literature that said what would happen to a culture, and then just replicate the things from the book. It's in the other direction. It's completely opposite direction. They're copying 1984. They're copying biblical predictions. They're copying Nostradamus. They're trying to do it with technology.
So let me catch you, because I think you're sort of, what's fascinating is I had Sam on, and he's a complex individual, but he sides with he's a conspiracy guy and sides with the people protesting their freedoms, which I believe those people are a failure, an epic failure of the education system, and an epic failure of the failed media industrial complex that we have.
Wouldn't it be the most clever trick of all? Is, since if the assumption is it's all really just one side, if that is the assumption, then the theater, when they shout cut on the set of any one of their televised events, they're back talking with each other, and they do communicate with each other, and they are still friends, since their daughters all go to school together and attend each other's weddings and so on and so forth. That this theater gets put into question by those other dynamics behind the scene. You can't ignore them after that. You have to continue to consider them. If you were a cop, you'd have to hand in your badge if you went back to ignoring it after that. You'd be done. You're not good at your job. So you would have to call every detective on every police force everywhere a conspiracy theorist. That is their job. That's their only job, is put it together and bring it to the captain. I got a lead. I got a hunch. It's good when they do it. It's bad when other people do it. So what we're dealing with is we're dealing with people. We're dealing with a personality. I come at, like I'm a character actor. I try to look into what makes a person do a thing, the psychology of a thing. And when you start to look into it, a comic does the same thing. A comic's look into that heck. Where you coming from, man? Where you coming from when you jab at me like that? I'm going to figure you out for next Saturday. I'm going to have it down by then. I'm going to figure out the dynamics of things. And you start to look into what makes people do and think and act the way they do. And that's what's drawing a lot of people to see this is a personality type war. This is about narcissists and sociopaths. It's breaking down to really, they gravitate, because it didn't always have to do with just a party. They can gravitate to either party. They are the toxic branch of any party. It's a type. It's a personality type.
But when I say biblical, just for a second, Jesus himself said, we're not struggling against flesh and blood, but powers and principalities. He said that. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how conservative leaning people haven't picked up on that. That means the military industrial complex and
that same entity. That entity's had a million names.
Right. However, I'm wondering if that's what the biblical purpose. I guess I'm not sure, but I'd like to. I see as a wise sage to some degree, and I haven't had a lot of talk with other people of wisdom since this thing happened. So I'm wondering what you think about maybe God coming into gently slow down a disharmony of villains that might be, villains and bumbling idiots who happen to be in positions of power at this time, because we don't really have. It seems to me we don't really have people we can trust running anything. That seems to be the general state of the world.
So maybe someone says God. Maybe someone else says karma. Maybe someone else says the golden rule, human nature. Someone else says the subconscious came to the fore because they consider the subconscious the good guy buried down. That's what leaks the truth out while you're talking, trying to warn others. And maybe God built those mechanisms. And maybe in between, like others are saying, we are the product of some other species that came down and seeded us here to do something for them, that they changed their minds and just ditched us here to run our own shit. There's that theory too. We dive, because TV has trained us, we dive into judgment. Oh, that's bullshit. That's this, that's that. Whenever it hits a discomfort button in me, I got to shut it down.
Why is that? Why do you shut it down?
We're comfort junkies. There's one of the most dangerous addictions in all of human history is comfort. It will turn a person into a snake in 2 seconds. Snakes don't like discomfort. They hate when their skin's starting to dry and they gotta get it off, and they'll bite anything near them. So a comfort junkie will trade all morals and values to be able to punch some code and get into their home and have a computer talk to them and make a bubble for themselves. Well, and that's what it does. And that's a biblical warning, by the way. That was you can't get through the eye of that needle, man, with all your shit stacked up on the camel there. It's not going to fit. All your greed's going to keep you on the other side in hell. Material hell. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's, in physics terms, maybe it's the weight of 3D, and that all your belongings weigh so much and you have to always watch them and they drive you mad while they're under your command.
Well, it certainly would be, it definitely doesn't punch my discomfort button that you say that. I mean, I am suffering from my own comfort thing where I'm wondering how I ever made it out of the fucking house before this. I got to be honest with you. I don't even know how I got up, showered, carry on with my day without a car, and took 3 buses and a train to Burbank to go do a Pepitone podcast every week. now I'm like, man, just riding my bike around the neighborhood is like prying myself out of my soul out with a fucking shoehorn. So,
Yeah.
but
you remember what your great grandparents used to say? Did you ever hear the stories? Or your grandparents? I don't know what generation came out of.
I wasn't around for the great grandparents.
What did the grandparents say about the great grandparents when they were in the Depression?
You know what? Everybody seems to have had parents who were harder motherfuckers than they were. You know, who were tougher, who were more resourceful and less pretentious.
That was circumstantial, you know. That was based on what was available and what wasn't. And an old ancient mechanism that tries to keep the mammal alive. It's just improv, you know. This is an improv. We are in a giant improvisation right now.
Well, pretense is being stripped away. That is for sure, my friend. Pretense and bullshit and, you know, the whole keeping up with the phones is mall hopping shit is being stripped away. People can't.
The danger will be the large monopolies that come to take its place so that you have just products like corn, rice, milk, go home.
So you do believe then that there is going to be an epic depression because of this the economy?
Oh, the potential is ever present and getting worse, while at the same time the stimulus packages all have a giant backfire valve on them. They're all going to blow up later. All these stimulus packages are catastrophes waiting to happen later down the road. And the people thrown out on the streets with small businesses that have no stimulus returning to them got to go somewhere. There's no, you know, and I hope those tanks rolling in here are not just to deal with them.
But they most likely will be.
Well, suddenly, you know, they were rolled through major cities as a demonstration to go, are you sure? Are you certain you want to do that now? But the question becomes, where else do they go? You know, I'm worried that there'll be some sort of a thing like Vegas with the parking spaces in the parking lots. And then someone will demand a fence around that. And then what do you have? You have the next camp for humans.
Well, see, now we're getting into the Agenda 21 and all of this stuff that Sam would be talking about, you know.
I think there's an absolute depopulation plan going with one group. The weird part is there's more than one giant Illuminati on Earth, and one that's felt like it's been pissed on for too long. They aren't the good guys.
They don't like human beings. They don't like human beings, whoever they are.
No, but one has a biblical directive to get rid of them for the Jesus will come back when you make an Armageddon.
The nationalists.
And the other group,
the nationalists.
Well, it's taking something that was supposed to have a positive angle and twisting the hell out of it again. They're famous for this. There's no safer place to hide than behind your religious symbol. No one will come looking for you there. It'll take forever for them to get through the cement of that wall. You can do all kinds of horrible things until then. It's a safe house. Religions are safe houses for sickos because of the armor that's put up in front of them socially. That's why they're riddled with sickos. The same reason animal research is riddled with the same basic people, but with a scientific bent. They need cruelty. They need something to suffer.
Now that brings me to this. This is not a conspiracy. This is true. It's mainstream news, even though it's not as circulated as it probably should be. There is a biological weapons testing facility in Wuhan, China, that Anthony Fauci, who was supposedly this to the blue team fuckers, is this sage of authority right now, has sent.
I love how the blue side will make anybody the good guy.
As long as he goes against
one tiny fucking thing, then suddenly Bush is good. Oh, he danced.
Well, you know,
look, he's adorable. He paints. He's an artist in his soul. He painted his feet in a tub.
How about Greenspan in the 90s? Do you remember the Greenspan thing? Greenspan was a fucking head of the Federal Reserve. He became a hero. Nobody knew why. it was commonly circulated news that suddenly Alan Greenspan was the reason for a good economy. And it turned out the things that he was doing were more detrimental 10, 15, 20 years down the road.
No doubt. Hypnosis.
I hear this. It really is. It's like McDonald's, Michael Jordan, and Coca-Cola got together, and they put a saying in your head, and people, these weak sheep, stupid fuckers, repeat it. I hear it repeated. Oh, this is the new normal. I hear that shit repeated. That's dangerous shit. This is not the new normal. Okay, this is not the new normal. We will get back to
predictive
normal.
Programming is telling you the outcome. It's telling you your choice. Haven't you ever seen a trailer to a movie that comes out in the spring going, it's your favorite movie of the summer? Yeah, it's still spring. Excuse me.
How about the number one movie in America? That's one of my favorite ones.
The number one movie in America. The one split second we caught the numbers racing past each other.
All of this, though, Rick, all of this, whether it's a boutique, liberal, pretentious art gallery gift shop fucker who, you know, or a nationalist who is spouting, you know, Rush Limbaugh lies. All of these people are authority figures who cannot be trusted. That's the one thing that I come back to is I grew up in the 80s, a generation where our parents told us, you know, you trust your doctors, you trust your lawyers, you trust your teachers, you trust your professor. It's a breakdown of people, us being able to trust people we're supposed to put our faith in for shit we can't do. This is the one narrative of this thing. This is the seams of this thing coming apart that I see.
Eyes on the doorway for who steps in next.
Oh, it'll be the people who are armed.
That's a layer. They're being used. They don't realize they're being played. And, you know, what Jesus said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. They're being played as a way to take away everything from everyone. They're going to be allowed to walk in and make a real scene, and then others will copy it. They'll shut the other ones down. They're being used as a demonstrator model. And they're also being used as a test to see how others will react.
Man.
That's how they do it every time. Everything's a test. Everything is to see what's going on next. Everything's to see when they did that crap in Dallas with the helicopters and the guys coming down and doing a thing up and down the streets, you know, with the terrorism thing. That's a test to see what everybody will do.
Well,
why do that?
Do you think, let me ask you this, do you think the really, this is on a smaller level, but that's how I felt about the Iowa Democratic primary. I felt like the Iowa Democratic primary was so blatantly, horribly rigged, more out in the open than any of the other rigging that's taken place, which was also blatant. But this one was visible for everyone. And the fact that there wasn't a huge moral outrage to that, I believe that was a test to see how badly can we fuck these people, these progressive lefties. What do you think of that?
I think it's a combination of all of those things. I don't think it's one thing at any given point because of so many people involved. Each has their micro agenda so they can move up in the structure amidst the power grab in general. In fact, it's one of the things that's kind of screwing them up is everyone grabbing for the one ring. And we get lucky breaks those are balls we drop on the regular. We get so many lucky breaks and we don't take advantage of them, how obvious they are, how stupid they've been. How many times they repeat something that doesn't work. The idiots that get caught as at first advocates for their greatest causes all turning out to be these horrible criminals. We drop every one of those balls. I don't think any one bit of this structure is going to hold up much longer. I think it's going to eat itself alive. I don't know how it'll come down, because I think you'll see a layer. We'll say, oh, it was all about the guys with the guns. But it won't just be that. They'll have a layer of that, but that won't be what did it all. Something else will step in. It's such a big monster. It doesn't just drop from one event. But I think it's starting to drop because of so much. This is, you know, that death for 1,000 cuts?
Yeah.
We're on the 975th cut.
Give me, really quickly, give me your example of everybody grabbing for the one ring, and not a Lord of the Rings reference, but in real time, when you say everybody grabbing for the one ring, give me an example.
They don't know what to do with Joe now. You know, they have to look like they're in charge. They have to look like, well, we've just determined that Joe might not be suitable. So they're going to announce to you something you've known almost, you know, for years now. They'll act like, hi, I'm changing the narrative now because I'm in charge. And we just figured out that maybe Joe's not the, because all they're trying to do is recover what's left of their image when they defended this guy, and then all the other shit came out about them. They don't understand how badly they've hurt themselves. They're going to find out when the business starts to roll again. Some of these celebrities, it's not going to be the same anymore. I'm sorry that they did it. It breaks my heart because some of them, I really like their work. I wish they had not done this. It's not going to help. And the lucky break we may have left is no one's that bright on either side. We have to get brighter. And we're brighter, but we don't act like it. It's the shame of all the shames, is that we should know better and we don't do it. We still don't do it when we should know better. That's supposed to be once you know better, that's it. You know, you don't go back after that. Once kid touches the stove, kid doesn't touch the stove anymore. Democrats, they learn, bang, go back to touch the stove again. It's like they like crying.
My friend Howard Berger made one of the great, I don't know if you know Howard, he wrote for Rodney Dangerfield.
I know Howard.
Okay, he had one of the great lines of this pandemic. He said, I think this pandemic is going to turn us all into Joe Biden. Meaning our minds are all going to be, you know, regress into what Joe Biden is basically. And I've said that to countless people in conversation, and they laugh. The people who do not laugh at that, the people who do not get that, are the people
I don't see everybody losing it. I see a lot of people putting their shit together in a way they've never done in their entire lives. The way our grandparents did, the way we're saying we can't be as cool or as bad as them. I see them doing it anyway. Like that buried capacity just sat dormant until the right circumstances. It doesn't show up for small things. It didn't even show up for 9/11. But once you start reducing access to staples, not just haircuts, going to the beach, food suddenly is a line starting to look a little more like Russia was fed to us as children. Chinese kids are starving. We're just and then starting to see the streets filled with homelessness on a scale we don't remember. These are just the beginning layers of what's coming in the summer.
The streets were filled with homelessness before this. I mean, the LA streets.
Not every single underpass to this degree. It was bad, and it was building, building before the pandemic. It was getting to this point right before. This exponentialized it. It went to light speed, and it's going to get 10 times worse because that's humans. Where do they go? Where else are they going to go? No one's going to make it. Do you think they're going to open all the vacant hotels and homes?
Well, they have done that in some parts of the state for homeless people. Sacramento, they have done that, but it's temporary. When it's temporary. It's temporary. When things start to open back up, people are going to be out in the street. What part are you in the valley? Where are you located?
I'm in the valley.
Okay, see, I'm out by the beach, so it's very, very difficult for me to see what the city looks like because I've been in this sort of beach community for 2 months without. This is an isolating place when there's no pandemic, Rick, you know. And so I like to ask, you know, what is it looking like where you're at? I know do you take walks? Do you go out? What is it looking like?
I got to go to the store. Got stuff. You got to get fresh things, man.
What is it looking like?
Just live on the canned stuff. I get salad, and I get, you know, I go to Ralph's, or I go, you know, to Whole Foods, or I go to Sprouts. I'm starting to go to Sprouts more. I got to drive to get to Sprouts, but it's worth it.
It's an exciting trip.
Start weaning off of the Whole Food now.
The trip to the supermarket is much more exciting than it used to be, wouldn't you say?
That's the leash that the dog suddenly becomes anxious to see. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
It's a psychological brain chemistry shift to sort of Stockholm syndrome gratitude for what were granted things before. I'm all for the gratitude principle. I am not all for bowing to an entity that demands that gratitude to them. That's completely different.
I think, but I mean,
I choose what the gratitude goes to.
Okay, so first of all, I think everybody is looking forward to things being opened up again. Whether you sympathize with people in front of the courthouse or you think they're fucking kooks, we all want we want our lives to get back in a decent place. But my question is to you: do you think it will happen? When do you think we'll start seeing this?
Well, they're saying things might start opening in the end of May, early June, as far as certain schools and stuff like that. And I get these COVID notices in my email, and it says layer by layer, the last thing to open, which might be September, October, would be performance spaces, concerts, and so on.
Right.
But that other kinds of stores in the interim, clothing stores, not considered a necessity, but will open because some people do need to get new clothes. And certain kinds of equipment stores will open up again. But it's a grand reduction of variety. You know, and it's always when there's a crisis, the people get punished and hurt. It always is worse for them than anyone else. That's why every celebrity doing a poor me video and somehow I'm managing and I'm going crazy has been career change level catastrophic for each one that's done it. It's like, hide and let this go the fuck away. And don't ever do that again. I had to put a warning on Facebook to my friends who were about to do that kind of stuff. I know you got a lot of money. Don't go there. You're going to get your ass handed to you. But it shows they don't really understand, man. They don't understand what they look like to others. And they don't really they have so much yes blown up their asses that they don't understand how people really look at what they have. And they can mythologize all they want. Oh, well, they don't like people with money or whatever it is, that they'll mythologize why it's not them.
You have been a very, very, very terrifically successful entertainer, artist, personality. You're not somebody you're talking about these people like they're different from you, but you've had a very successful career in show business. I think a lot of us look up to you. How have you not? What is the difference for you and some of these people who you've come up with who have had this disconnection? Give us some insight and wisdom, please, Rick.
I don't understand what you mean. Clarify the question.
Your friends who you're talking about who have become very, very successful like yourself.
Yes.
I'm
not. Well, you got to clarify. I'm not on the plane that they're on.
No, but you're respected.
I would tell you if I was. That's lovely. I love that. Those are the things that don't attach to an estate, that don't need a green screen, because you can show the actual background and all that. No, I'm just some guy. I'm a working character actor. I'm in the middle class of the show business industry. It has a middle class, and I am in it. And you work somewhere in the middle.
Not a very big middle class, though, no?
Well, it's a lot of us, man. I mean, no, and it's not as big as it should be, because there's a lot of people who aren't even up to this point with the money they've made or the work they've done, and they're wondering what the business is going to do now that it's been choked off at the end here like this. What's next? I know it has to reinvent itself in some wild way, and it has to be like those stories you heard about people just getting around in the 30s.
Well, are the artists who are doing the flavored mayonnaise showcasing type bit, are they going to be as relevant as they were? Is another good
I have a suspicion they're going to have some well, look, they're probably being advised right now going, just let this die down. Don't go back there again. I'm so sorry I told you to do that. Yes, that was me. I fucked up. I shouldn't have told you to do it. I thought it was going to help. It went in the other direction. I didn't see it coming. Let's not go back there again. You'll do a great comedy next year. They're going to forget all about it because one thing Americans do perfectly is forget.
That's for sure. That's a double-edged sword, my friend.
Well, I wonder if it's still the same in the age of the internet, because the internet doesn't forget. The internet argues like someone in a relationship that pulls everything from your past back on you.
It's unbelievable, man. It is really it is a vindictive.
It's changing how we remember. We have a huge database to remember with that we didn't before. I didn't want to have to just pull it in a heated moment in a kitchen somewhere. I could just thumb, boom, here it is. Now what? So it's changing things. There was a freedom in that leapt way ahead for the human species. Access to every liar's lie. Can you even imagine? There was no time in history to go, well, then how did you explain this or that or whatever?
Doesn't stop people from saying it's fake news or it's okay. This seems to be the narrative. When someone wants to assert their cognitive dissonance, it's I don't have a problem with what happened there, or it's fake news, it never happened, or it's taken out of context and it wasn't said that way. I have friends who heard the Charlottesville speech. I watched the Charlottesville speech from Trump. And they could not see the Nazi sympathy in that speech. They could not see the, he said he condemned Nazis and he said it as an aside, of course Nazis are bad. But he said it as an aside. The essence of the speech was Nazi sympathy. So everybody's going to see the shit they see from the way they see it. Bottom line.
The narrative of waiting for him to say something bad now is a stall tactic. We have this, what it's doing is taking what should be outrage at the overall picture and micro controlling and directing it towards one thing so that you think you've shot your load and you're not close and you didn't hit the target. He's not the target. We're being trained that he's the target. He's the result of the target.
What is the target?
He's not the diet. He's the zit.
What is the target?
The target is the fake two-party system that's one party that is all about manipulation and fear and using panic as a manipulation device for the American people and the world, and all for acquisition of resources around the rest of the world without any protest to stop.
The broken system that produced Trump, basically.
Yeah, and it's a factory that keeps running. If you just shut down one of its units, it makes it's like the T2 factory. It just cranks another one out and launches it back in time again. You got to go back and get the factory.
How do we do that?
Just make another one and another one and another one and another one for the rest of your existence. It'll repeat in 1,000 different ways. Just because it isn't identical doesn't mean the pattern didn't repeat.
Okay, so how do we go back and get the fucking? I know it's probably not a simple thing, but is there any wisdom you can give me, Rick?
Plastics.
That'll be the moment on the sizzle reel for the show. That's fucking great, man. That's
Elaine. Great. Elaine.
I love it, man. This has been awesome. This has been truly awesome talking to you. I love you.
Likewise, Steve.
Love you back, truly, I'm so honored to have had you and been able to have a serious talk. This has really been the first recorded episode of the No Idea Zone that could threaten the title of our show, because we had a lot of ideas being volleyed back and forth today. Rick, tell us if there's anything going on that you might have coming up or coming out, or you want to share with us, or
very
anything.
Soon on Comedy Dynamics, I'm going to have my Rick Overton's set list special come out. And it's an improvised comedy special I did at Culex Woodshed. And it was one of the last shows they did there before everything got shut down by the COVID. And so I'm waiting for it to just, the paperwork's getting finished up, and then they're going to put it out on Comedy Dynamics.
So Comedy Dynamics is online, or is it on?
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah, that's where you find it. That's where a lot of it's going now, man.
Comedy
that's where
Dynamics.
We are. Hey.
Comedy. Well, we can talk more behind the scenes about what kind of deal you got. So maybe I can get in on their action one day.
Make a special, yeah, make your own thing, and then they're a good way to go. Yeah, if they greenlight the special, it's good, you know.
All right.
So we'll talk more, Steve. But thanks for having me on, man. And
yes,
look, you know the rule. Yes, and
you know. Wait,
that's
say
the rule
again?
of improv. We're in an improv, man.
Yeah. Yes,
and the rule
I agree.
Is yes, and
yes, and
yes, I agree. You don't have to agree with the whole situation. Just yes, and your way through it from here on in.
And thank you for being my sideways guest with the green background. And
did what we could. I'm sorry about this. I thought it was going to be a beautiful, waving, tropical scenario.
You are, my friend, you are beautiful in many, many ways. And thanks again for coming and being part of this and lending a little gravity to this this no idea zone.
I try to mix levity and gravity together. Call it lavity, and involves soap and an Irishman. And we're back to this color again.
On that note,